It's a pleasure to be here and to talk, so thank you, Dennis, for the introduction. I will start with a question to you. What is your favorite means of transportation? Do you prefer to take the plane or do you prefer to take the train? Do you prefer to take the plane and know exactly where you're going? Or do you prefer to take the train and have different options for where you get out? Do you prefer to take the plane and be fast on your destination? Or would you like to actually take the train and enjoy the ride? I actually prefer the train, as you can hear from my voice. I prefer the train. It gives you also options to connect and to change path along the way. And I think this is something that is very important. It gives you flexibility and a different approach to the plane. I think the plane is actually a very strong symbol of modern life, where people are sitting next to each other and not talking to each other. In the train, you can actually meet with people. Now, the configuration of the modern train is less face-to-face than it used to be. But normally, train is a place where you can meet people. And I have great stories and experience of meeting people in trains. Actually, 25 years ago, it was my first time when I lived in Romania. And I was traveling a lot using the train. I remember a friend that was coming from Paris to visit me, and we went to Sibiu. And I think when we came back after less than 2 days, we had more stories to tell about the 12 hours back and forth from Bucharest to Sibiu than from the visit of Sibiu, which was beautiful in itself. And to take the time to actually meet new people, to discuss, to have breaks, is actually something that is very important. And as I look at my past, and I'm talking about, one of the questions that you may ask yourself is, what do I want to become? What will I be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And that's probably a question you get asked. I remember when you're young, people ask you, what do you want to be? I didn't really know. What I knew is that I didn't want a single destination. I wanted to have options. I wanted to have diversity. And I think that's what is important, is to get this flexibility, this opportunity. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit of 3 things which I think are important and which I learned and I'd like to share with you about this journey. The first one is about the tension between listening and talking. Today I'm standing in front of you to talk, but it's not been my natural position in all my life. As part of my family, I was the youngest of 5 brothers. And I don't know if there is anyone in the room who has 4 brothers or sisters. And being the youngest, it means you tend to listen more than you talk. Or if you talk too much, you get told to listen. And you get many opportunities to observe different opinions. And actually, that position in the family is something that defines your personality as you are young. And I think it had a very important impact on my own path myself. I was listening to my older brothers, much older than me, between 8 and 15 years older than me, all of them. And I was observing what they were doing, what was good, what was less good. I was asking questions. Obviously, they also told me how to fight, because when you're the youngest of 5 brothers, you need to get also some resistance. I remember my older brother saying, when my mother was doing a cake, beautiful cake, very good, everybody was fighting for it. And my older brother was always saying to me, but also to his other 3 brothers, I am the oldest, I should have the biggest part of the cake. Okay, then I had to find the right argument. I'm the smallest, so I have the most space for growth. I need to eat more. So, of course, this position in a family is something that is important and gives you that angle to grow, to listen. And that's something that I've always enjoyed doing. Of course, sometimes it's enjoyable to talk, and this is something I've learned with time and throughout my career. But I always enjoyed the listening, the observation. When I was a kid, I was not necessarily having a specific dream, one that I had still as a profession, which I didn't do, was to be a journalist. Journalist is someone that is observing, that is studying a different topic every day, that is writing an article that is different every day. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted diversity, different topics, investigation, understanding, in-depth questioning. And that's something that stayed with me, even though I didn't become a journalist and I went into business. I did many different jobs in my career. I've been in the last 15 years in retail. And I was learning actually negotiation as was one of the main jobs I have done, was to work on buying and obviously negotiating with big companies like Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, so big suppliers. And this is not something that I had ever envisaged that I would enjoy. But I figured out that all the listening capabilities and the ability to understand and get the perspective of the other person is something that actually made me enjoy very much negotiation. And sometimes you think negotiation is the one that is, and these days we see this kind of behavior, but sometimes negotiation is not about the one that is shouting the loudest. It's the one that is actually understanding what is the other's interest and how you can find the right agreement. And I've always enjoyed this as part of my job. This is something that is actually very, very important. The second element which I would like to share with you, it's not only about listening and having a travel and looking at the window from the train. It's actually also how you're able, staying where you are, to take new eyes. How can you see the things that is in front of you, that is something that you've seen over days, months, years, to see it with a different angle? This spirit of discovery is something that's always been with me, to actually try to find ways to empathize, to understand in a strong manner. It was mentioned I speak 8 languages. That was always something that I considered very important to me when I was traveling, and I obviously enjoy very much the traveling and the discovery of the different countries. And every country where I went to, and even some where I didn't stay, I've enjoyed learning the languages, because it's essential. If you want to understand the culture, if you want to understand the perspective, you get to understand the language. Of course, English is the international language, but in every country, if you really want to get empathy, to discover things, you need to get the language. That's where the thinking, you get a different way of thinking in the different countries because of the structure of the language. And at the beginning it was tough, but it became a game for me. And I guess that was part of the fun for myself. I think it's that spirit of discovery is actually something that in my career has been always important. Obviously, the fact that I've worked in different functions, different types of companies, also in my sector, the consumer sector, as a producer, as a retailer, and also as a consultant, gave me for sure the different perspective. But the challenge is to get that spirit to have every day a different perspective, to come in the morning and to be able to say, how am I going to see things in a different way today? I think this is what is bringing creativity. That ability to actually stand up and to say, it's a different day today, let's see things with different angle. So it means also, when you have someone in front of you, to be able to think how that person is actually relating and thinking and seeing the perspective. It's become, as I got used to that, a passion and really a strong element in terms of everyday work. The third thing I want to share with you is actually the passion. Because if you don't do things with passion, then you need to change. Passion is everything. Sometimes people think something better will come afterwards. No, you need to enjoy what you do. If you don't enjoy, maybe it's time to change. Of course, I've learned that passion is everything. Patience sometimes is also important, and I've learned to grow in terms of patience. Sometimes you need to be patient, you cannot be too passionate. However, I've always, anytime I've taken a job, assessed that job looking at, am I enjoying the people I work with? Am I learning something? Do I have some perspectives? Do I enjoy the perspectives I have, and do I relate to this perspective in terms of values? And overall, do I find what I do actually interesting? Because if the answer is no, maybe no to one of these, and then you compromise, of course. But if the answer is no to more than one of these questions, I've always said, okay, I switch. Switching doesn't mean necessarily to change companies. It can be to change jobs. It can be also to raise the hand when you see something that will be more in line with your passion and your aspirations. And as I grew more into my roles, I've actually found that this perspective not only applies to you, but it applies to the others. And I found very fulfilling to actually find some people where you listen really to them and you help them actually to find what they like to do. And sometimes you help them to switch. I remember when I was in merchandise in Italy, working for Carrefour, and I was listening to one of our best senior buyers, and he told me, well, I've done all the categories, non-food, alcohols, grocery, but the one I dream, and I've asked for that for 5 or 10 years, and now I haven't said that for probably 5 years. I want to be in fresh, because I studied agriculture, and the next week I put him on fresh. I mean, he's still writing to me every month. It's so fulfilling to actually help people to work on what they like, and actually then they are more passionate. And so I, of course, grew as I grew. I'm not applying only this rule of passion to me, but also to the people I work with, to ensure that there is passion around, and that's what keeps me awake when I work. I also, sometimes, it's a difficult compromise with my kids, because you sometimes want to give them some advice. Because you see what they are good at and what they are not good at. Actually, with 2 of my kids, I left them to choose. I mean, one is, she's 14, so she's probably still got to choose in front of her. But one, actually, I was telling her, you should be an architect. I see you as an architect. And I shouldn't have done that, I know that. She didn't choose architecture, she's studying physics. But I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I was right, but it was not my role. I mean, my role was to ask her the question, what do you like doing? And I think it's very important. It's important for yourself, and it's important for the others. Because eventually, I think we are social animals. And if I have to leave you with one word or one thought today, it is that being social animals, we shouldn't forget that. Today, we live, and your generation lives with the mobile phone, the social networks, many hours spent by many people on social networks, rather than discovering other people. And I think it is very important. So whatever you choose, whatever the means of transportation that you decide to ride with, always enjoy the ride and try to make acquaintances and discover the other people. Thank you.